Man juice. What we're going to do is take the inhibition off, stop the inappropriate aromatization of what little testosterone you got left into estrogen, and then put our foot down on the gas pedal. And the way we're going to do that is I'll show you what to start and what to stop. Now, me and my team, we have successfully gotten 5 dudes off testosterone replacement therapy because they want to have kids. And when you are on TRT, FSH goes to the floor and your sperm count drops. So one legend that came to us, his sperm count was 2 million and you need 15 million for fertility. He wants to have kids and we got his in just over 4 months to 23 million. So it is possible. And we've also helped dudes in their 60s optimize their testosterone. So I'm going to unpack what you need to do. So as you can see here, our brain has got this thing called the gonadotropin releasing hormone system. And the gonadotropin's quite simply, LH makes its way to your ball sack, testosterone, and incidentally, every 2 to 3 hours, that is supposed to happen. So there's no reason why you can't have optimal testosterone all day long. And then follicle stimulating here, fertility, spermogenesis. In a nutshell, if insulin is a bit too high and you've got blood sugar dysregulation, you're either completely inhibited or it slows down to a crawl. If you're stressed out or you're anxious or you're angry, boom. You're either inhibited or the volume turns down. Now, this one here is the energy accountant. So if you're struggling to get the body that you want, more than likely you got a bit of an leptin issue. And for a lot of people, they are inflamed because their gut's not very good. So they're just being hit from all angles. And there's a lot of fake estrogens that mimic estrogen, and that's going to shut you down. And it also increases your natural estrogen. So we're going to unpack what you need to do here today. Now, just to show you how testosterone is actually made in your ball sack, as I mentioned, every 2 to 3 hours, LH comes down this energy pathway there. So as you can see, if you're fatigued and your energy's up and down, so will you be, including your testosterone. Now, this is the blood flow pathway, nitric oxide. So there's another clue. Again, if you don't have good blood flow, you won't have good detox, you won't have good brain function. It won't be ideal. And these two converge onto this star protein here, and cholesterol, which isn't toxic, comes into the mitochondria. So the mitochondria are a necessary step to make your man juice again every 2 hours. You should be pumping out the good stuff. So it's enzymatically converted into pregnenolone. It's exported out into the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Boom, free tea. So there's no reason why you can't be kicking ass in life. Now, the mitochondria do much more than just make your testosterone. We've got about 40 trillion cells. That's fucking incredible. And inside those cells, you've got the mitochondria working hard to produce your ATP. And also neurotransmitters, cognition, sports performance, mood. And of course, as we just saw, your fucking man juice. Yeah. And also repairing your RNA and your DNA. Lipids. So your body fat goes into the mitochondria in a process called beta oxidation to get you lean and muscular because it's also doing protein synthesis. And guess what? It's not just muscle protein. Our body is a fucking protein machine. Then also homeostatic balance. And this is what I reckon these sons of bitches, the mitochondria do, which is most important. They're communicating with cells, systems, and organs in your body. Up here, central nervous system, cognition, earning potential, creativity, sports performance, good mood. And over here, the intestines. So you're actually absorbing nutrients from your food and also the old microbiome, gut health, circadian system. So I've spoken about this quite a few times here on on the YouTubes, but this is one of the easiest things to fix and one of the most important, because if your skating rhythm is out, these poor little bastards, they suffer. So you suffer, and your sleep suffers, and your fatigue, and just rinse, repeat. No good. And metabolic system. So you want a detox, you want your energy pathways are pumping and are humping 24/7. What about your immune system? Fuck yeah, pretty important. Then over here, gene expression, epigenetic pathways, and also cell fate. And I'll talk about cell fate as we progress, but do you want to age fast? Do you want to lose your hair? Well, it's too late for me because I started to lose my hair at 16. But do you want to wrinkle up? Do you want to feel like shit? Do you want to lose your base pairs and be only left with 4,000 base pairs when you're 70? Which means you don't have a lot of life left to live. Now, when I went through and did my certificate in nutrition, I took extra training by Dr. Daddis, and this legend is a functional clinician. He's got more letters after his name than I care to count, like a PhD, DHSC, MS, MFC. Like, it's just super smart dude. And guess what? If you have food sensitivities, whether that's from poor gut health or your DNA doesn't like some of the foods you're eating, and I'll provide a couple of examples here today, then your mitochondria, these poor little buggers that are trying to do all of this for you and pump out your energy, they're going to suffer. This is Daddis.
And for food sensitivities, remember that since the immune response is delayed, you may not really make that connection with exactly which food protein is really triggering it for the person. Food sensitivity response, delayed immune response, is going to trigger and activate IgG, IgM, IgA, and activate antigen-presenting cells, and they're going to have manifestation on the skin. So the skin is really part of the immune system, and there's lots of immune cells on the skin. Any inflammatory skin condition, whether it has an underlying autoimmune issue or just an underlying inflammatory mechanism or some genetic issues that can turn on through an inflammatory response, are all possible to get worse, including acne. Another really common one with food sensitivities is joint pain and swelling. If it's only one joint that is really starting to show symptoms, it's usually a joint that's been injured, had a bad knee or had a meniscus tear, or you herniated a disc and had a tear. Food sensitivities will trigger your whole inflammatory response, and wherever there's some injury or inflammation is where things will show up first. So some people will, let's say, had a tear in their lumbar disc, and they get exposed to, let's say, food. Maybe it's milk. Every time they eat milk, they get back pain. That happens because there's already some inflammation in that tissue, and then food sensitivities make it worse. Now, if all the joints in the body start to get swollen when there's exposure to a food sensitivity, that's more likely a person that's heading towards rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune issue. Another really common symptom with people that have food sensitivities is just chronic muscle tightness and muscle pain. And we know that the systemic inflammatory response that takes place with delayed food responses can actually increase inflammation in muscles. So a lot of people have chronic muscle pain when they have food sensitivity issues. They're constantly needing someone to work on them, massage them. They're constantly having to move their neck around. They have to go into a jacuzzi all the time or take a hot shower just to relieve some of that inflammation. Lots of diverse gastrointestinal symptoms, whether it's changes in bowel movements, just stomach pain, ulcer-like reflux symptoms, just pain and cramping in the abdomen. All types of diverse GI symptoms can be triggered by food sensitivity. I mean, the immune system, majority of the immune system is in the gut. So when there's dietary proteins triggering the inflammatory response, it can really cause dysfunction all throughout the GI tract, everything from the stomach all the way down to the colon. Another common response with food sensitivity is just swelling throughout the body.
This one here, swelling, is pretty bad. You'll have poor blood flow if you've got that, poor mitochondrial function. I'll show you how to fix it. It is easy. I'll provide you a couple of solutions. One is super fast and easy, and the other one, it takes a bit of time. So I'm going to offer you both solutions.
So some people notice when they eat foods, they start to get really swollen. They may have a hard time identifying what it is when it's a food sensitivity because the reaction can be delayed. And then another one is fatigue. Food sensitivities with people is they just lose their energy. They just get tired all the time and they don't know why, and they're really frustrated by that. So systemic inflammation can actually uncouple what are called mitochondria in cells, which are used.
Mitochondria. Yeah, so they're going to suffer.
to make energy. So chronic inflammation can reduces their production of ATP, which is energy. Many people get just this weird type of tiredness and fatigue when they have food sensitivities. Another major one is change in their cognitive functions. They get brain fog all the time. They can't think.
I guess that'll do for now. So as you can see, those food sensitivities are no joke. Now let's just talk about blood flow. Because as you can see with testosterone production, that goes with everything. Detox, neurotransmission. All of it, as Jocko would say. So in a nutshell there, as you heard Dada say, that swelling there. So what happens is, if you get a bit of puffiness, your cells are surrounded by this gelled water. Now this one here is the glycocalyx. Now the glycocalyx is the protective lining of where your blood flows. So you've got to protect it. Now right here, let's just unpack this. Now I learned all about this from Stephanie Center. She's a senior research scientist with a PhD at MIT. Now, where the blood flows, 99% of where the blood flows, so that's a shit ton, is in what's called the capillaries. You legends in America call them the capillaries. Now, the glycocalyx, so this is the edge of it there, and it's got these sulfated glycosaminoglycans, and they've got a sugar residue on it. See, glucose, sugar residue. So what happens when your blood glucose is a bit too high? Fucking destroys it, doesn't it? And lectins that you eat from food, if you have a genetic issue with lectins, they'll bind to the glycocalyx and destroy it. So the glycocalyx also has a strong negative charge. And the red blood cells, they also have a strong negative charge. So what happens when you get two negative poles of a magnet and try and push it together? Well, they spring apart, don't they? So all of these glycosaminoglycans, there's a shit ton of them, so a massive negative charge, and it's also got this gelled water that acts like a lubricant. So when you have poor glycocalyx health, you got the bloating, you got brain fog, you got testosterone issues, all those things. The red blood cells, instead of going down their single file and smoothly glide down there, just glide down there, they kind of bunch up like this. And that's where you get poor blood flow. So as you can see, this is damaged glycocalyx, and there's sugar residues. There's a lot of things that combine to it. And this is why glucose too high too often can really fuck you up. And lectins are the same thing. Lectins bind to sugar residues, and there's a whole group of foods that are lectins. Now, if you've got a sick gut, lectins, doesn't matter if you don't have a DNA issue with them, they'll still get through, and they can still bind to the glycocalyx. So think about that. Now, you've got to really be intelligent about your food choices. And as I mentioned, this pulse generator, every 2 hours, it's pumping out the gonadotropins, man. You feeling it? Spermogenesis, you're virile, ready to have the baby and get on the workbench to have that that play out. And also testosterone every 2 hours. And beyond that, you can use your mindset. Even when your heart rate is doing 120, 130 beats per minute. But most people, they get stressed or anxious and they make cortisol instead, and it shuts them down. Breath work can do it too. Breathing through your nose all the time, increase your testosterone. The Wim Hof breathing will do it. There's a lot of things that can increase testosterone with breath work. And of course, movement. The way you move, like you hit cardio, the weight training, when you do it right, yeah. Signals like POMC, pro-opiomelanocortin, that triggers testosterone production. So there's a lot of things you can do. And as I mentioned, me and my team, we have helped legends in their 60s get to optimal testosterone. Now, you're not going to want to hear this, but guess what? Chronic low testosterone, that causes atrophy in your man juice, the testes, and also the penis, erectile dysfunction. So I'll walk you through this in a moment, but this is Dr. Amy B. Keelan. She's a board-certified MD, expertise in sexual performance and also longevity. So if you've got erectile dysfunction, don't panic. You can actually fix this.
It could be not exercising. Also, low testosterone over time could do that. So anything that causes these cells within the penis to die is going to compromise your ability to maintain an erection, because those veins don't get clamped off properly against the tunica albuginea when you have a partial erection.
Yeah, so the penis is a smooth muscle. Growth hormone, peptides, testosterone itself, dihydrotestosterone, growth hormone is going to help you rebuild it. So the way that we're going to boost testosterone, quite simply, good blood flow, everything that I mentioned there. So LH every 2 hours. So we need to increase cholesterol to the fucking testes. Now, I'll do another video on cholesterol next week, but I've worked with 3 experts for heart health, blood flow, and cholesterol. And one of my coaches is a professor. He's a cardiovascular pathophysiologist. I'm telling you, cholesterol ain't the problem. Then we have to reduce oxidative stress. I'm going to show you how to do that here today. And lipid peroxidization, so you're not destroying your ball sack and your penis for that fucking matter. Then we have to enhance the activity of the antioxidant enzymes, and I will show you how to do that here today. And normalize, you guessed it, blood glucose and insulin, leptin, cortisol, all of those things. Then, of course, increase blood flow. As you just saw, the glycocalyx, man. We have to make sure that's happening. And then when you consistently do this, you increase your ball sack weight and critically recycling your testosterone receptors. So you're more potent. All right. Now, let's just quickly talk about low T and what it kind of feels like. Now, this has been out for quite some time, and most of the research that we need to have a look at, me and my team, they're behind fucking paywalls. You got to pay to see this fucking research. It's like the powers that be, and you know who I'm talking about, they don't want us to see this information. So this one was published in Endocrinology 2012. So you've already got low T. Then over here, because you got low T, and you got stress, insulin dysregulation, xenoestrogens, the chemicals and all that shit, you got a bit of inflammation. It's going to upregulate the inappropriate aromatization of your T. So that goes up tenfold, which increases your cortisol. It goes up, which then further upregulates aromatization ninefold, which increases your appetite. And for poor fucking foods, because you're fatigued. You're like, man, I just give me the pizza. Oh, fuck, I just want the pizza. And that increases your insulin. So up to 25-fold, and you've already got low T, and you feel like shit. And you know what? What really grinds my gears? Them saying that testosterone causes aggression. Unequivocally, unassailably false. This is Professor Human talking about what really causes aggression.
Testosterone aromatized, converted into estrogen, and then binding to these estrogen-containing neurons in the ventromedial hypothalamus that triggers aggression. I want to repeat that. It is not testosterone itself that triggers aggression. It is testosterone aromatized into estrogen within the brain and binding to these estrogen receptor-containing neurons in the ventromedial hypothalamus that evokes aggression, and dramatic aggression at that. Now, this effect of estrogen causing aggression in the brain is very robust, so much so.
Toxic masculinity, my fucking ass. Now, it gets worse because all this upregulation, so you got your low T, not cool. Your female hormone goes up. Tumor promoters. Your prostate, you go to the toilet frequently and it hurts a little bit. You got your man boobs, you start packing on the fat. You got your plaque in your arteries, you got your high blood pressure. Then you got your diabetes. Then you got your hyperinsulinemia. Then your performance in the bedroom tanks, and eventually all types of cancers. So as you can see there, we got to fix this. So step one, start, and I'll also show you what to stop doing. Now, what we have to do is work out where you are with some of the labs. Like if your vitamin D is low, so will your glycocalyx and your blood flow, so will your immune system, your neurotransmitters, and also your man juice. And I'm not going to talk about this one here because I'll probably get censored, but you should check your protein antibodies if you can read what that's there, because that's no joke. If you got elevated that, they're north of 1,000, you need to intervene. It's going to cause a lot of inflammation, screw up your blood flow, aneurysms, and shit like that. You also need to check your ferritin because it's a representation of how much iron your tissues are storing. If it's north of 100, donate blood. That simple. And if it's low, no, you're in a bit of trouble. More than likely, you've got poor gut health. Then homocysteine's another one there. Insulin. So we like to see insulin, fasting insulin, between 2 and ideally 5, no more than, say, 8 at a max. And the only problem with the medical system, they'll say, like, 12's okay or 15's okay. No. That's low T right there, unequivocally. And you could also do things like test your mitochondria to see where they're bottlenecked through an oats test, organic acid test. And you can also check your immune system with IgGs. Now, we won't go into that here today. Now, if you want a fast track, I've got 2 options for you. In the caption below, you'll see 2 links. One to my free newsletter where I'll send this information out, uncensored, or if you want to join my school group community, there's information below about that. You can go and check that one out, and you can learn this at your own pace. You can go there now and start learning it, and you get to speak to me and my team on live Zoom calls where you can ask me questions about all of this stuff, uncensored. Then we also have to get your omega index checked, put you on either an elimination diet or a DNA enhanced diet that is low deuterium, because we got to keep these energy pathways open for business, because if they're not, the mitochondria slow down. If they're not, you can't detox. You can't make testosterone. You will have poor blood flow. Nutrient-dense foods. And then you also have to optimize what's called your redox potential, which is simply NADPH and NAD plus, so you can recover, detox, and heal. Then we also have to activate your longevity genes, and that's the circadian rhythm. Then activate stem cell production. Then, as you saw there, learn how to protect your glycocalyx. So blood sugar dysregulation along with insulin, no good. Heavy metals, chemicals, plastics, non-native EMF has been shown to take it out. So there's a multitude of things that are destroying your blood flow and destroying your glycocalyx. Then you have to use a cellular detox protocol, not a fruity lemon detox. And this is all tied into the circadian rhythm and fasting. And if you do have heavy metals and molds, you got to detox, you must pulse it, do it slow and gently, because too aggressive equals damage. You don't want that. Then if you're taking supplements, fancy supplements, they could be dysregulating your immune system. So it could push TH1 up too high, or TH2 up too high, or TH17. Autoimmune disease will happen much faster, including alopecia, early hair loss. And you got to stop taking these cheap ass synthetic vitamins and focus in on nutrient-dense, low deuterium foods. And then also train your body through epigenetic gene transcription over time to upregulate beta oxidization in the mitochondria. So that's all about macros and meal timing. Now, the next thing, we'll talk about this one here too, how to enhance POMC gene expression. And that one is about timing and gaining electrons. And the cool thing about POMC is you're going to get all of these benefits as well. Melanin, and also triggering the biotoxin pathway. Now, of course, if you want to optimize your testosterone, you have to do HIIT training and weights and focus on recovery during and after those workouts. And if you want to learn how to calm yourself down while you're under pressure. You have to do a bit of strategic meditation to trigger self-directed relaxation. Now, I used to have panic attacks, social anxiety, and performance anxiety. So I know a lot about this, and this is a must-do. And that's going to help you learn how to get comfortable under high-pressure situations. Because even when your heart rate is doing 120 to 130 beats per minute, you can be making your man juice. And this could be speaking on stage, under pressure, making man juice. But for most people, they're anxious, they're fearful, they have ums and ahs, they can't remember where they're up to. Testosterone comes down, cortisol goes up, and then you aromatize what little testosterone you got left into estrogen, and you feel like garbage. Now, let's talk about your redox potential. So, NADPH. So, NADPH builds you up, including your dihydrotestosterone. So, dihydrotestosterone is 10 times more potent than testosterone. And it has this main effect for masculine features like the beard and the jaw, but it has profound effects on your moneymaker, motivating you, making you feel good under pressure. Now, we have worked out, me and my team, that there are 15 compounds that you could be eating that's causing total inhibition to convert your testosterone into dihydro or slow it down to a crawl. So you got to have your NADPH up for many different things, and here's just one. And it also helps optimize cortisol. Now, just to show you how important NADPH is, we got to gain electrons. I'm about to play a video for you. This is Dr. Sarah Pugh. She's got a PhD in biophysics and biochemistry.
Oil rig, oxidation is loss, reduction is gain, and I'm just talking about electrons. So another way to describe redox is if you've got plenty of electrons, then that means all your chemical reactions are going to run smoothly, because basically all chemical reactions of the body is just moving hydrogens and electrons about in simple terms. And that's what a redox reaction is. Something gets oxidized and something gets reduced. And like 100,000 of these happen per second. So that would come back down to why having not enough electrons is bad, because it just means we can't run our chemical reactions in our bodies as well as we could. So that would be another way to describe low redox. So if we can't run our chemical reactions as quickly as normal, then we can't make as much enzymes as hormones, defending molecules and so on, metabolize food.
And I've done a video on YouTube here all about that, and it should be linked below, so you can check that one out. So this redox potential, it is no joke, because you'll never fix this mess here, right? Never fix this mess here, which is your low T converting to E through all that crap there. And so when that's all out, you know, you've got your estrogen up too high, you feel like shit, you're tired, you just can't think properly, you know, you got gut issues, skin issues, joint issues, blood flow issues. Over here, tumor promoters and large prostate. And then your man boobs, they start filling out, and then you pack on a bit of fat, then you got your plaque and your arteries, vasoconstriction, hypertension, high blood pressure. Then to compound it even worse, remember the glycocalyx there? That shit, the glucose, destroys it. Really bad blood flow, hyperinsulinemia, your performance in the bedroom, she tanks, and, you know, a lot of cancers. All right, now let's just talk about, I've been speaking about this since 2018, when I first learned about it, your omega index. So it should be linked below to get it checked. Now, your omega index is huge, and most of the people that me and my team test, they're here. They are inflamed. They're shit out of luck, and you need to get over here. So when you do that test, they'll tell you how to get it back into the green, and it is no joke. And all it is the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3, but unfortunately, the fucking advice we've been given out there in today's Western diet makes it there. That's where it goes to. It sits there. This is what we see all the time. And that promotes the pathogenesis of many diseases. cardiovascular, cancer, inflammatory, autoimmune disease. So we got to fix it. This is Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and she's done a lot of research on this, the omega-3 index. So listen carefully.
People that like lived the longest were, of course, the high omega-3 index with no smoking. And then people with the lowest life expectancy were smokers with a low omega-3 index. But then when he looked at people that smoked but had a high omega-3 index, they had the same life expectancy as people with low omega-3 but didn't smoke. Of course, I get all the smokers out there going, oh, so all I have to do is supplement with omega-3. And I'm like, no. That's the wrong way to think about it.
Yeah. So, you've got to get it over here. Otherwise, you'll be inflamed. And when you got that inflammation, your cortisol's all over the place, your insulin will be up. It's a shit show. So this is a must do. Got to get in the green, and this company will tell you how to do that. All right, now another one, homocysteine. So your physician, they won't check it because it's not in their insurance model. They don't check it, homocysteine. And they'll tell you if they do check it, 14.5, you're good. No. Ideally, you want to get it between 5 and at a max 8. So that's a big difference right there. And here's why. Homocysteine over here. Like I've seen some guys 20 plus. That's some scary shit, believe you me. Because it causes lesions in your arteries, right? And plaque to build up, and they blame cholesterol. Yeah, no. So you got plaque in your arteries, and you got cardiovascular disease, heart attack, and stroke. It's just, it's insane. The current medical system, it's just insane. Then what about your brain? She starts to tap out. Epilepsy could happen. Dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. What about your eyesight? Yeah, no good. Hearing, your ball sack, your ovaries if you're a chick, endocrine system, skeletal system, and your kidneys, which further accelerate your heart disease. So homocysteine, again, the mitochondria, pretty important, especially for testosterone. Your homocysteine elevated there, you'll have poor detox as well, and you'll damage your mitochondria. So between 5 and at a max 8 is where you should have it. Now, another lab you need to get checked is your ferritin. And we like to see it between 50 and 100. And some of the people that I've worked with say 30 to 70. So I keep mine around about 70. And all you got to do is donate blood. So inside your mitochondria, you got this enzyme that takes care of nasty shit like superoxide. That'll destroy your mitochondria. SOD2. So SOD2 is really bad if you got ferritin is really bad if you got this gene mutation. And we've checked over 350 people now today, and we're seeing over 50% have that gene, that SNP, that single nucleotide polymorphism. And that predisposes you, that's the SNP there, RS4880 TT allele, tenfold higher risk of heart disease. So your mitochondria are going through this process called heteroplasmy, DNA mutations in your mitochondria. Professor Doug Wallace, and he's researched the mitochondria for about 5 decades, 50 years, and he says that for most people, unfortunately, their mitochondria every 10 years go through 10% heteroplasmy. So yeah, testosterone down, your fat loss down, your brain function down, it's all down. Now here's just an example of another single nucleotide polymorphism. So in a nutshell, you've got 3 here. You got the TT allele, the CT allele, and the CC, and that one's fine. And this is an ergothioneine intolerance in foods. So these people here should abstain from foods that are high in ergothioneine. And guess what? Mushrooms, very high in ergothioneine. And when your mitochondria become destroyed, heteroplasmy, as I mentioned, every 10 years, Professor Doug Wallace, 10% heteroplasmy, mitochondrial DNA, and disease, so brain. You got headaches, migraines, and ataxia, and that's ataxia there. You see that? The brain is literally rotting away. That is a PET scan of a typical 82-year-old brain. Depression, psychosis, dementia, stroke, and then your heart, right? And they're blaming cholesterol. Then over here, your endocrine system, your testosterone, your thyroid, then your kidneys, which further drives heart disease, and then peripheral nervous system, myopathy. So you got weak, tired muscles that ache. You think you need a hot tub or a massage. And then neuropathy. That's not good. Pins and needles, numbness in your extremities, sciatica, gut issues, liver issues, hearing and eyesight. So as you can see, we got to look after these mitochondria. Now again, the glycocalyx, we've got to get this blood flow optimal. So a great book you can pick up is Toxic Legacy from Stephanie Seneff, and she talks all about that. I think it's chapter 5. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's chapter 5 about sulfation. So these glycosaminoglycans, remember glucose, and they've got a strong negative charge, and glucose binds to it, lectins bind to it and destroy it, then you got poor blood flow. So we got to have a very strong negative charge. And remember, this has got that gelled water there, so like a lubricant, so it just smoothly glides down there. Good testosterone, good brain function, good everything. Now, just to drive into DNA with lectins, here's some of the genes that predispose you to issues with lectins. So the SELE here, neuroinflammation, heart issues. Then these ones here, gut and brain endothelial barriers. FUT2 there, so that's your gut. And also the glycocalyx where your blood flows. So yeah, you've really got to understand that some of the foods we've been told to eat probably aren't good for you. So this is how important DNA is to know. Now let's just start to talk about POMC. So I've spoken about this here on the YouTubes quite a few times, and it's triggered by light timing during the day. So POMC here, like I've got that school group that I mentioned there, POMC activation plan, pretty simple to follow. But in a nutshell here, POMC, cellular detox, and leptin sensitivity, right? That's the energy accountant. It follows the circadian rhythm. So if you want to get this body here, your food intake goes down, so your appetite goes down, and then your basal metabolic rate goes up. All right, so you're burning through your body fat. And this is what POMC does, and it's triggered by the right light timing. Zero cost to do. So pro-opioid melanocortin is cut up into 10 other products that do all of this there. So let me run through it. We've got gamma, MSH, regulating blood pressure through modulating sodium. Now this one works like an adaptogen for cortisol. Cortisol too high or too low, self-optimizes. Then alpha MSH is a powerhouse, lowering inflammation, boosting your immune system, regulates reproductivity, triggers sex hormone production, so like that's an accelerator right there. And also thyroid, reduces your appetite, as you just saw, and increasing your basal metabolic rate. It optimizes serotonin and melatonin for sleep, dopamine, so you can focus, you can think, and it triggers the biotoxin pathway, and it increases sulfation and methylation. Remember sulfation and also methylation, blood flow. Then insulin here, as I just mentioned there, optimizes insulin. These two lipotropins there, beta and gamma, lipolysis, accelerated fat loss. So it's really fueling fat loss. And then your endorphins, your feel-good hormones, and the final one here, beta, MSH, regulates feeding behavior at the hypothalamic control of body weight. So you naturally get down to your set point, which should be pretty close to where I am there. Now, the biggest issue that we've got to face is this modern toxic world. Our ancestors, legends, about 5,000 years ago, we only had natural plant alkaloids and the occasional mycotoxin, mold toxin, and smoke from wood fire. So we had minimal to detox. Then about 1875, went to tenfold. So we had coal smoke and factory emissions, lead in the pipes, mercury in medicines and shit like that. And then right here, when Big Pharma got into the business and the petrochemicals came out, pharmaceuticals, pesticides and solvents, 100 to 1,000-fold. And today, this is why blood flow is shit, testosterone is shit, why we feel like shit. Depending on where you live, 1,000 to 10,000-fold. So these chemicals, they're no joke. Now, to really trigger POMC, you've got to make sure that you are methylating, and homocysteine is a marker of methylation and healthy mitochondria. Now, if you're unsure about that, read the caption below. 2 options: join the newsletter or join my school group. Now, what you got to stop doing is destroying your gut. So in a nutshell, don't eat big food. 1 ingredient method. So whole foods, all right? Organic if possible, because they've got nasty ass chemicals in them, pesticides and shit you don't want. And do not discount the circadian rhythm. And I'll show you why in a moment. And we also have to learn how to optimize our light environment, because otherwise POMC won't be triggered potently, and you certainly want to trigger POMC potently. And don't overtrain unless you're a genetic freak or you're on the juice, because you won't recover, and cortisol will be up, testosterone will be low, and you will never get the results you want. And that will also screw up your gut health. And as you can see, when we're stressed out, our testosterone comes down, and then it's aromatized to estrogen, and we feel like just whinging and bitching and complaining. And stop exposing yourself to these chemicals in food, water, personal care products, the clothes, and also non-native VMF. And also stop breathing through your mouth, because you got to breathe through your nose. That has been shown to increase testosterone and recovery. And if you want to know more information about how toxic our world is, I'm not going to play this. All you got to do is follow the money. Big pharma, autoimmune industry, $108 billion a year industry. And I'll just play this excerpt from Shark Tank so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Joe, let me ask you a question. Why not just go license it to one of the big drug companies?
Because I did that originally. I went to one of the biggest in the United States, and they told me we were actually a competitor, and if they took the product, they would shelf it. Because why would they prevent it for $1 when they could treat it for 14?
All right. Now, 3 videos here to play. Check it out.
Talked about the fact that if you really look at the data, just for instance on testosterone, there are men in their 90s, and they are not rare, it turns out, that are making as much testosterone and DHT, dihydrotestosterone, as they were in their 20s.
My friend, Dr. Ken Berry, this is me and Dr. Ken on a TikTok live, and he was just talking about these pharmaceuticals.
If not 3. All those things are symptoms of low testosterone. And there's a long list of prescription medications that you might be taking from your doctor, your doctor that you trust, that could actually be plummeting your testosterone levels. I've got a YouTube video about medications that...
I was on those drugs. Asthma, which nearly killed me. Arthritis, gut issues, skin issues, anti-anxiety, all of that shit. So I had panic attacks, performance anxiety, social anxiety, off all of them now, and I have been for years. And the reason why is that 99% of their big pharma drugs are made from petrochemicals. And these petrochemicals mimic estrogen. So when you take them, your body thinks it's got too much estrogen, so it shuts down your pulse generator, so you don't make a lot of testosterone. And this is what Dr. J said to me.
Said that there's men in their 90s, and you see this isn't rare, and they've got as much testosterone and dihydrotestosterone as they did in their 20s.
Oh, yeah. It's true.
Yep.
It's surprising how little it goes down with age.
Yep.
If you optimize your health.
And so it's possible, and the nutritional advice we've been given doesn't optimize us. And then we get to 40, 50, and they give us drugs, prescription medications.
Makes it even worse.
That bring down testosterone and make it worse.
Yeah, it's not thriving. It's definitely suboptimal. It's frustrating, honestly. I mean, especially on the topic of testosterone, because if your testosterone goes down, just your health in general goes down. So that opens the door to a bunch of prescription drugs. And so the pharma companies are very excited about keeping your testosterone down from a financial perspective. As a business model, it's a good idea for them to keep your testosterone low. You don't want to be in that category.
Because it drives anxiety when testosterone's low. You struggle with fat.
Yeah.
You struggle with putting on muscle. Yeah. You're just not activated as a man. Like it brings up everything, energy, the motivation, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So, circadian rhythm. Now, this is huge. Like everybody discounts it, and that's a big mistake. And here's why. So when your circadian rhythm is disrupted, your mitochondria are tapping the fuck out. And we've seen how important those little powerhouses are. They're working hard for you to be the man or woman that you were born to be. They are detoxing the shit inside your cells so the cells can work efficiently. And they stop mitochondrial dysfunction, cellular senescence, which increases your lifespan. So unfortunately for a lot of people, they get to 70 and they've only got 4,000 base pairs on their telomeres. Let me walk you through what that means. So listen very carefully. This is what my team said to me. On your DNA, you've got chromosomes. And this is a protective end cap called your telomeres. Now, when you go through accelerated aging, cellular senescence there, you lose your base pairs at an accelerated rate. So you'll get to 70 and you'll only have 4,000 base pairs left. So you look old, you feel old, and unfortunately, you don't have a lot of life left to live. So if you stop that from happening now by triggering your longevity pathways, you can also trigger this pathway in your body called telomerase, which actually lengthens your base pairs. So there's no reason why you can't get to, say, 70 and have at least 8,000 base pairs left. So the longevity genes are really important, and the mitochondria are a big piece of the puzzle. Now, this video here is from Dr. Alexis Cohen. She got her PhD from one of the top metabolic labs on the planet, Princeton. And this is what she said about the mitochondria.
You're turning on the processes that allow your body to deplete the damaged mitochondria from its cells. And so in effect, what you're doing is you're purifying that colony. And then we can engage things like mitochondrial biogenesis, or the production of new mitochondria from the good ones. And now in effect, you actually can reverse age, because aging is really dictated by the levels of mutation within mitochondria. If we look at the research, Doug Wallace's work shows that you gain about 10% mutation burden per decade of life. And what that's doing is, by the time you're 80 or 90 years old, now your mitochondria look like they're 80 or 90, but you could also be 20 years old and have mitochondria in your liver that look like they're 80, depending on, what hand you were dealt and the lifestyle factors and environment that you spend a lot of time in. And so it's very actionable to literally reverse age in order to optimize health.
Yeah, because when your mitochondria are tapping out, as she said there, Professor Doug Wallace, every 10 years, you go through 10% DNA damaged, mutated, weak-ass mitochondria. And of course, your mitochondria, they're doing a lot of heavy lifting for you. Energy, hormones, neurotransmission, repairing RNA, DNA, burning your body fat, protein synthesis, homeostatic balance, communicating the cells, systems and organs, gene expression, epigenetic pathways, and cell fate. Right there. Telomere attrition, cellular senescence. And again, the foods you're eating, you could be sensitive to. So if you like what you hear, check out the caption below. So join the newsletter if that's what you want to do, and I'll send you out some uncensored information, because I can't really do it here on the YouTubies. Or if you want to join my school group and get there much, much faster, learn at your own pace and ask me and my team questions on live Zoom calls, do that. Because who wants to feel like shit? Age fast, look old, and just be struggling, be frustrated, and feel like, you get the idea. And again, it's not testosterone, it's bloody estrogen. That's what's happening. We're aromatizing it up to 25-fold higher. It mightn't be that high right now, but it could be like 8-fold or something like that. So again, what you got to start to think about is start doing those things, and then you're going to get back in the game. So there it is. Got any questions? Drop them in the comments below.